You are, you're at 90 centimetres. Look at the size of that fish. Dream size dusky, mid-70s. It's hanging over the front there, and it has taken that glide right the way down. You beauty. All right, well, I'm going to take you through the lures that I'm taking with me this weekend for the Elite Series. Now, remember, we're chasing 5 big fish, so it's your biggest 5, and I think we're going to be able to get it done with some giants. I'll show you what I've got and talk you through each of them. A couple of them are mine, and then there's a couple of others that I think we might change it up to if the conditions are really suited to something else. But look, this is the big flathead slayer. This thing, the soft glide, is by far the most successful thing that I've got in my boat that I think I can get it done with. This is my confidence bait, and that's what I'll be using. Yep, big. Yeah, big, big, big. Beautiful big floody. She's a big one. Oh, yeah. That's what I wanted, folks, on the soft glide. Yes. Oh, she's a brute. Here we go. It's so far down, the whole thing is down there. Look at the size of this fish. Oh, massive floody. It's a net job, that one. Massive floody on the soft glide, folks. Look at this. Get in there, big floody. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. That was taken down so heavy. Get in there, have a look at that. That is how you want to eat. From a big 80, I reckon. Used to be close. Crunched head first. Oh, they're so dominant. Wow. Yeah. All right. Come out here, buddy. Get on the mat. Oi, oi, oi. Go, son. How big are you? Big odd 70. Look at that. Dream size dusky. Mid-70s. It's hanging over the front there, and it has taken that glide right the way down. You beauty. What a fish. Oh, she's going straight back in the water. There we go. Come here, mate. Come here. Oh, you are a beauty. Oh, I'll do it like this. Oh, yeah. Come here, big flatty, and off you go. Oh. Big old 70s. Sick. Yep, again. Oh, 2 in 2 casts. Are you kidding me? Another 70. Oh, not quite. Frothy, but. Oh. Wow. That's a 60 odd. Geez, they're crazy. Keen as. There's another one. Very next cast. I haven't even wound the slack in yet. Need to get a glove for this, I think. end up with a hook in my hand. There's one. See, buddy? I want to show you how I use these soft glide lures. Now, these have taken care of more big flathead and competitions chasing the big fish than any other lure over the last couple of years. These have absolutely dominated it. It's been wonderful to see in the Flatty Classic and these big Flatty comps, these lures on so many people's rods and getting PBs. But I think there's a couple of things that people forget to use and to bring into their fishing that help to get it done with these big lures on their big flathead. So I'm going to talk you through some of that stuff, so hopefully you can bring it into your fishing. It's quite simple. Okay, it's taking it a lot slower and making things a lot simpler that actually get it done. One of the keys is big long casts. So I tend to use like a 5 to 8 or 5 to 10 kilos, 7 foot or longer rod, and that allows me to get big long casts up over the sand flats or into a pressure area from distance. This is what you're looking for here, these huge expanses of flats that are covered in yabby holes. That's home to hundreds and hundreds of whiting, mullet, small garfish, and they're the fish that the big flathead are feeding on and relying on to stay alive. Being able to find these huge expanses of flats, usually they're down the bottom of a system that are covered in yabby holes, that's a really good indicator. And then having a rod and a lure that can throw away from the boat so that you've got a stealthy approach, that's one of the big keys that I can share with you. And I don't think it's something that people really take seriously enough. The stealth on the approach for a big fish, you have to be impeccable with the way you do it. So no throwing pliers onto the boat, slamming a hatch. You don't motor in all the way in onto the flat. The fish are gone, or they're tuned in and afraid, or they've got their spook awareness on, and they're not ready to feed if you've motored all the way in with your outboard motor. I'm even really quiet on my electric. So you'll notice that I'm not going from 0 to speed 4 or anything and buzzing around all over the flats. In actual fact, I've made up a silent anchor, a little plonk, that I use more often than I do my electric motor when I'm chasing giant flathead. And it might mean that it takes me an extra 5 minutes to drift into a position so that I don't have to use the electric motor or the outboard as much across the flats, but that makes all the difference. So even though these things are talking points and it's not the action of the lure right now that we're looking at, before you even hit the flat and have your first cast, a lot of fishermen have called it off for themselves because they've been too noisy over the flats. Big flathead are very tuned in. Huge lateral line, they're the ultimate flats predator. They're very, very smart in the way they go about their business, so stealth is key. So if that's the one takeaway you get and you bring that into your game when you're approaching big flathead on the flats, that could be a really valuable lesson. Now, one of the keys to this soft glide is its level fall. It's balanced level fall and the most subtle of tail movements that this thing has at rest. It's very balanced, perfectly balanced straight out of the packet. And what it does do is give you the ultimate fishing time on the drop. The way that it falls to the bottom is unlike any other soft plastic lure in terms of its balance and the subtle tail movement that's very, very real, just like a big gar, a mullet or a pike on the flats. The retrieve is not like a hop and drop technique. It's slower, it's more meandering. I'll show you what I'm doing, just to give you an idea. Big long cast. I click the bail into gear to pull the line tight so I'm in touch with that lure, even with the tide and the wind. And I'm pointing my rod tip out towards that lure, and all I'm doing is a couple of winds, 2 or 3 winds, and that's it. And then I'll let it sink for a couple of seconds, 2 or 3 seconds, and then I'll wind her in again. And that is all it is. I'm not having to go flick, flick, flick with the lure like you might a little plastic to entice a school flathead. These big flathead have seen all of that. They want something that's very subtle but resembles a really big bait that's just moving and kind of struggling slowly along the flats. That's all it needs to be. So if you're wondering how to work these, you're not trying to get a big S action or anything. They move straight and they fall. So about 1 meter at a time, and then just let it fade. And the subtle action that I've built into this lure with the balance of it is everything that you need to get it done. That cast, when it lands, you're trying to land it in these pressure zones. And so I'm looking for areas where there's a drop off, where you might have an island and a little depression, or an area right on the edge of a weed bed or something like that. And then I'm just winding it in, a couple of winds and stop. And if you've got your rod tip pointed at the lure, when you feel that punch, and it is insanely like punchy, the bite from a giant, there's no mistaking that you've got a beast on. And I'm talking those 75, 80, 90 centimetre fish. There's no mistaking. It's like nothing else you've felt on the flats before. It's absolutely bananas. So there's a couple of key tips for you. The subtle retrieve, you don't have to do a lot of rod tip action. I've built this lure perfectly balanced, weighted, with an action that's got it all built in. You don't have to impart anything on it. A couple of winds of the handle and let her sink. If it's a metre deep, you count to 4 or 5. It sinks a metre every 5 seconds. So you gather up the line, point the rod tip at it, and that's all it is. Just gonna have a couple more casts and then I'll take you through some of the lures that I'm gonna take with me for the Elite Series this weekend. Right, that's the kind of cast that I'm trying to achieve. I can see whiting up on those flats, just shimmering and flickering about. There's an eagle in the background there. If it's feeding, there's bait here. Even if it's in the air flying, you know that the bait's here. It wouldn't leave its perch if it wasn't happening. So the fact that it's airborne, that's telling me it's time to chase a giant on these flats. But I can see bait in there. There's a bit of run, I reckon we can have some fun. Let's go. Yep, there's a fish. Right out of this squeeze point. On the edge of a little drop off. It was only about a half a foot depression. You may be able to see the changing colour there, and that's what I was eyeing in. And soft glide flatty. That would be decent in the comp. We are aiming for bigger, and I reckon it's going to happen. We'll keep fishing. Wait on, flatty, wait on, buddy. Back you go, mate. Perfect. These come with one fully rigged and then 2 spare bodies, and on the packet that QR code goes into more detail than anything I've seen on YouTube on how to catch big flathead and how to use the soft glide. Okay, so that is by far the best way to go. If you've got questions and you've got a packet of these, make sure you've watched that and had a look. There is a ton of information in there on how to chase giant flathead in the shallows. I've also got a downloadable DVD, Giant Flathead in the Shallows, on my website that you can purchase, and that's like 2 hours of big flathead fishing footage. That's the thing that I'll have tied on first, and you can see the way that it's rigged there. You just pull it out of the pack, tie her on with a loop knot, and you're good to go. Most of the Elite Series, you're going to be seeing me and Jai throwing either this one or my just recently released paddle glide, and that's these things here. Now these, I've only just launched these in the last 2 weeks. These are the paddle glide, and they come in a range of colours. You can get them online through my store. They come with a 20-minute how to fish and catch giant fish QR code, and they come rigged, ready to roll, whether it's a unweighted lure or with a big 1 ounce jammed inside it. These things are like big swim baits, perfectly balanced and rigged straight out of the packet. They also come with a foamy insert in case you want to slow the sink rate right down. So these are fantastic on those really big fish, whether it's barramundi, jew, murray cod or giant flathead. These things are fantastic, and there's going to be a whole lot more coming on these big lures in the weeks and months to come this season. I'm really excited for the release of these. Okay, so they're my paddle glides, and I reckon that we'll be using those, especially if the water starts to discolour a little bit, or if we want to get some big baits a little bit deeper down than where this soft glide's going to go. Now those two big baits, I've designed them for really big fish, especially that soft glide for big flathead. And I'm really confident that that's what's going to get it done. But you've always got to have a few other things in the boat for the occasion. And we're going to change if the conditions sort of show us that there's some shrimp getting bitten up or we see them skipping around. I can't wait to fish this big imposter that's just been released by Rapala. Now that's a big soft bait. It's a super TPE material, and the way that I'm going to rig that is with a ball sinker on a loop knot out the front of an EWG or an extra wide gape hook, like what comes on my soft glides. And that will just free this thing up to move really freely through the water. I don't want to ruin its action with a huge, I'll give you a look, like with a big traditional style jig head. I don't really want to do that. Now I do like these jig heads that have got these keepers in them from Bait Junkie. I think they're great, but these swinging ball sinkers out the front with a hook arrangement that allows it to be a lot freer, I reckon that's how I'm going to fish it this weekend. Another prawn imitation, now you've seen these everywhere on my channel, is the Holt Production swim prawn. Okay, and chasing the big fish, I reckon a 5-inch might be another good option. We've always fished the 4s and the 3s on my channel and caught lots of good numbers of flathead, but I'm certainly going to have a packet of these big 5-inches in. Boy, they caught some good fish during the Flathead Classic on those, so I'm going to have those in with a couple of heavier jig heads if we want to try and do something a little bit deeper later on in the day. And then I'm also going to be fishing these little topwater lures. Okay, there's some sections that I love to fish that's only like maybe half a foot deep, and if I'm going to be scanning all over the flats with a much more subtle land, maybe these little pencils, the sugar pan, or a nice big bent thing like this. This is a custom built one by Mitch Fisher that he did for me. That's the kind of thing that you might see us fishing over the weekend. These have actually already won a flathead competition locally. Jai Pemmant got it done with some nice big plus 60 models of flathead over the last couple of weeks, and I'm so keen to throw these around for flathead. Tommy dropped a beauty the other day on one of these, so we might even be fishing these as well. The flathead haven't seen these yet, so I think that could be a key for us. So there's a bit of a range. There's a few of mine. I'm really excited for the release of my lures, and if you haven't seen the release videos, there's a cracker that I released maybe last week it was, with Tommy getting onto a massive barramundi. So make sure you check that out. What we might do, we might jump up, keep fishing. I might change over now. I might throw one of these on, a big paddle glide, and see if we can get it done with this big paddle glide. And hopefully we can make it all happen this weekend in the Elite Series. Let's go. Yep, got it. Big. Oh, it's huge. That is a 90. It's a horse. Oh, that is up there. That is a really big fish. I'm on here, guys. Look at the size of this monster. Oh. Wow, what a fish. He's just seen the boat. She has. Wow. Paddle glide. Now this is a giant. Oh. I get excited sometimes when I'm chasing these really big ones, and I call the giant early, and then it comes in a little bit smaller. The pulling power is so impressive, but this is one. This is a true crocodile. Oh. What are you doing in such shallow water, mate? Yeah. Oh, that is an absolute chunk of a big floody too. Look at the flank coming up. You brute. This could be the heaviest flathead I've ever caught, I think. It's not the longest, but I reckon it's the heaviest. It's so big. Come on, big floody. There you are, mate. Oh, wait till they're in netting condition. Oh, you are huge, mate. Struggling with the net job. Now, come on. Oh, there you go, buddy. Wow. You are a monster. You are a true monster. Wait until you see the size of this thing, folks. Oh my goodness. I'm just going to leave it in the drink there because I'm going to get everything prepared for this big fish. I'm not going to keep it out too long. I'll do my best here. This is the fish that I've designed these lures for, my soft glides. And now the paddle glide. This is definitely up there, guys. Definitely up there. Wow. Oh. This is a huge animal. Oh. I'm not careful, I'm going to end up ruining rods and things. All right. Oh, you are just stunning. You are stunning, mate. These custom EWGs are built for big fish, big hook exposure for the really, really big fish like this. That's it. Oh, all right. I'll give you a look at that lure in a minute. Oh, years and years of developing these products to bring this kind of fishing to you guys. Have a look at that for a monster flatty. That is what I've designed these big lures for. The soft glides are unreal, and so are these big paddles. 80, hang on, are you on the 90? There's the 0. Oh, you're at 90 centimeters. What a stunning animal. All right, mate. Oh, you are everything that I'd hoped to find this morning. Oh. Now, are you gonna go, bud? You are. Off you go. Back you go, Piggy. Wow. Incredible. There's a whole lot more of this stuff coming, obviously, now that I'm fishing with these big paddle glides, my soft glides, and all these lures to come. Make sure you stay tuned to this channel, guys.